This is Word of Info. We are coming from Studio 3. My name is Dr. Amr MABROuk. Dua Muhammad is at the control. And today in the Word of Info, we have the world of books. And yes, today we are presenting three very interesting books. The first book is Addicted to Anxiety, How to Break the Habit by Owen O'Kane. The second book is The Mamluk Cairo by Gamal al-Ghitani. And the third book is How to
There goes my mind, there goes my way of life, there goes the way you let me down, it's a different type of sound, oh, yeah.
So, today we are coming back now with the first book in the world of books, Addicted to Anxiety by Owen O'Kane, How to Break the Habit. So, really is anxiety addictive? Is it an addiction that you can get rid of? And why is anxiety the disease of the current period of time we are living in? Can we really get rid of this anxiety? So this is a lot of questions, because what's the sort of this problem? How can we get rid of it? And at the same time, how can we avoid the relapse? Well, Owen O'Kane is a psychologist, and he's a famous psychologist. He's Irish from origins. He was living in Dublin, and he was one of the psychologists of the BBC. And so he has, as he said, lived some stressful life in the beginning of his life in Dublin, during, of course, the times of terror at that time, and of course a lot of things that happened in the 90s and the 80s. So he was always stressed and always anxious, and he has tried to describe to us what is really anxiety. He's saying that you have two selves inside of yourself. The first self is you, the ego, yourself, and the second is somebody who is always full of black thoughts. He is always telling you, you should not do so and so. There are a lot of risks that are going on your way. Don't do this. Don't make any risks, and you have to be always afraid. This anxious person who's living inside of you might be helping you, might be saving you from great risks. For example, he's always warning you from riding a bike without a helmet, or he's always telling you, you better off stay away from bad people. But if this person is telling you to get out of the way of progress, he's telling you always that you have to stay at home, you better not do that, you're going to fare bad in the exam, you don't need to have this study, you need to challenge yourself with everyday tasks that might cause you to be very anxious. And of course, anxiety really affects the human being. It leads to stress, it increases your blood pressure, it increases your heart rate, it always puts you in the mode of the fight or the flight, where your digestive system is not working and you are anxious, and this digestive system that is not working will lead you to feel the dehydration, because your salivary glands are not working, you have a dry mouth and you are tense, and this is really affecting your body and making you feel very stressed. So how can you let go of this anxiety and at the same time get rid of it? Don't keep it inside, because if you keep it inside, you'll always find yourself getting more anxious, more habituated to this anxious. And if for a change you're a bit relaxed today, you are going, because your body and your physique got accustomed to this anxiety, so you're going to search for it. You're going to tell yourself, why am I not anxious? Well, if this problem has been solved, if I came back from the exam and I was very happy of what I have done in the exam against all odds and against all my fears before I went to this exam. But still, I cannot enjoy the moment. I still have the stress of further exams. Even if this is the last exam that you're going to have this year, you'll be always full of anxiety saying, but I will have an exam next year, or I might fail in this exam in spite of the fact that I did well. So you are accustomed or habituated to have this anxiety state, and you are always living on the edge. So how can you get rid of that? These are the black thoughts. You have to admit that you have an anxious person or persona sitting inside you. And this anxious persona you need to gratify. You need to convince yourself that you will not listen to this hazardous talk that is continuously going in your head. You have to get rid of this negative energy that you're having. So is there a way to get of this severe addiction? Is there a way that will make you be able to get rid of it? Well, there are a lot of ways. There is the first and the most important way is to try to nullify the effect of the stress. And nullifying this effect of stress is, or the effect of the anxiety, by, first of all, doing some analysis of this anxiety. Why are you anxious? What are you afraid of? What is putting you on the edge? What is forcing you to say, I cannot enjoy life. I have to be always anxious. So you will analyze the cause of anxiety and try to deal with it. And then you'll find things to relax with this anxiety. These things are not drugs. These things are not removing of the anger by going, for example, for a comfort room where you hit something or you hit the wall or something like that. No. You have to have some time for yourself. Perhaps you can go around in doing a walk amid some greenery, reading a book that is completely going to be one of the books that you really love. Distract your mind away from the cause of anxiety. Play some exercise or any way to distract yourself from this anxiety. And always when this anxious self comes back to you, you have to attack it. You have to say, no, I will not submit to these black feelings. I will not going to submit myself to these effects. You have to let go. Get out these emotions, face them, and then try to get rid of them. And in order to try to get rid of them, you have to convince yourself that you cannot live with this anxious soul of yours. You have to face it, and once and for all. And whenever it comes back, you have to find the treatment. The treatment is not just psychology counseling, but it is for relaxing yourself. Do yourself a favor by reading something. You know, for example, somebody like Churchill, who was always subjected to severe stress and anxiety all through his career in World War I or World War II or the politics in between, he found himself a very strange hobby, which is painting. And painting helped him to relieve his stress and anxiety. And although he was not that clever painter, but a lot of critics who have seen his paintings said that there is definitely a good soul behind it, as that the effort that he is doing and exerting in these paintings definitely have helped him to get rid of the anxiety addiction. The same time you have to do that. You will not be always be able to be a painter, but you can read a good book. You can have a walk in greenery. you can have some exercise, you can have a distraction that will pull you away from this anxiety. And the management of an anxiety by drugs or by alcohol or by smoke is not the right way. And this is really a very interesting way of addressing this, because Owen O'Kane, the writer, has said that he himself was a very addicted person to anxiety, and all the lifetime that he had through his life and the stresses have helped him always to be always anxious, and therefore he always tried to get rid of this anxiety by going to take any of these methods to help him away from drugs and away from problems. A very interesting book that deserves to be read, Addicted to Anxiety, How to Break the Habit by Owen O'Kane. So, you're still listening to the World of Info. and the World of Books. My name is Dr. Amr MABROUK. Dua Muhammad is still at the control. And the second book is really a very interesting book. It's called Qahiriyat Mamlukiyya, or Mamluk Stories of Cairo by Gamal al-Ghitani. Well, before we go into this book, we have to talk about Gamal al-Ghitani. Gamal al-Ghitani is a very talented writer, a historian, and somebody who has lived and was born in Upper Egypt, but later on, when he was a child, he came to Cairo, where he lived in the old Cairo of Mu'azz al-Din Allah Street. And he went to school in this area, which is so much rich in history. And even, strange enough, his primary school at that time was inside the mosque of Al-Hakim Amr. Of course, by time, this school has been demolished because it shouldn't be inside the mosque. But imagine the type of imagination and stories that can linger in the mind of a young boy having to go to school every day in Al-Hakim Amr Street, the famous Khalif of the Fatimid period, one of the weirdest person who have ever ruled Egypt, and yet the mosque is so magnificent, and it's a very huge mosque that will take a huge part of the population, and the mosque was very beautiful. So, from the very first moment, Gamal al-Ghitani started reading. And reading, this is something that he did, and he kept on reading till the last day of his life. And reading was about Cairo, the city victorious, the city that he loved and admired, the city that he went through all through his life, going through the streets of Cairo, whether it was in Mu'azz al-Din Allah Street, from the Victory Gate and the Conquest Gate at the north, to the southern gate at Gate Zuela to the south, and going through this hundreds and thousands of times. In the beginning, as a child, his father was a very kind man who believed in real good friendship, and he believed that he has the privilege to go around the streets of Cairo to visit his friends and to visit his family members who are living in the whole of old Cairo. He would always take his little son, Gamal, with him to visit these relatives. And Gamal started seeing and knowing by heart every part of Cairo. When first of all, he was examining the houses, the mosques, the places, and at the same time, he started reading, and he would visit with his father some of his friends who were very much into reading and have huge libraries. And these friends of his dad were so hospitable that they allowed the little boy to examine these books, to smell the old books, to read and to understand. And he had these great teachers who told him about the Maqrizi, Ibn Iyas, and the Gabarti, and of course, a lot of things like that, which really helped him to face this. So as he said, he simply befriended these great historians. He felt that Ibn Iyas and the Maqrizi and Ibn Taghribardi and even the Gabarti, all of them who really became like his own friends. He visited these books not only hundreds of times, but maybe thousands of times. And every time he would read the story of the human being behind the stone, and at the same time see for himself how these people are really taking care of the idea of how to see and how to understand. He would always go around, and whenever he feels that he's sad or disturbed, or the lives, the times of hardship puts its hard toll on his shoulders, he would simply go to one of the mosques of Cairo and sit in one of these mosques and rest his back on one of these walls of these great mosques, and he would just close his eyes, imagining the times that he has lived during his trips with his dad or with his own self long time ago. And he even would imagine himself living in these old times, seeing and hearing the heroes of these characters who lived in Cairo, built its mosques, and definitely had their say on what was happening on Cairo. So when he writes a book about Cairo, we have to read. Unfortunately, Gamal al-Ghitani died in the year 2015, and he has really taken us through the walls of and the gates of Cairo and lived with us in his beautiful walk around. So he would tell us about how Cairo originated, how the famous Khalif al-Mu'azz li-Dinillah, who sent his commander Gawhar al-Saqali to build a capital of Egypt that has to be a military capital, because these Fatimids coming from Morocco and Tunisia were Shiite, not Sunnis, while all the Egyptians were Sunnis. So they decided to build the capital as a military capital away from the main capital of Cairo at that time, of Egypt at that time, which was the Fustat. And the Fatimids designed two palaces, a small eastern palace, a small western palace that is for the Khalif to meet the dignitaries, and a huge, beautiful eastern palace that was having the house and the palace of the Khalif, the cemeteries of the previous Khalifs, and the beautiful garden and animals that are brought from all over the world, and plants that were brought from all over the world. A palace that was considered to be part of heaven, that extended from Gate of Futuh and Nasr towards what is now the Mosque of Al-Hussein. And of course, this huge area, imagine, was the palace and the garden, or the Eastern Palace and the garden of the Khalif. This place, of course, has seen some demolishing when Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi came. And then after Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi and the Ayyubid dynasty, it became the capital of Egypt. Cairo is also the capital of the great Sultanate of the Mamluks. And he takes us hand by hand, Gamal al-Ghitani, to see the mosques of Cairo, to see the beautiful mosques, for example, of Qalawun, this great sultan, who was one of the Mamluks of Salih Najm al-Din Ayyub, the man who was so great that not only did he build a mosque and a mausoleum for himself, but he built a school for education, and he built a hospital that is still working up till now, from the year 1282 till today. And this school, this hospital, which is now an ophthalmology hospital, used to be a general hospital that even had a sort of an asylum for the mentally deficient people. And in this hospital, Qalawun would give endowment for this hospital to keep on working. At the same time, there is good food that is presented to the ill and the sick people inside. And whenever the patient would eat the chicken that is given to him, this is an indication that he has healed. The music band would always play for these patients and giving them a good service only for the sake or for the help or the hope that God will accept that as a good deed. Also, there was a sabil in this grand mosque of Qalawun. And beside the Qalawun mosque is the mosque of his son Nasir Muhammad, one of the great builders of Egypt. Not only did he have this beautiful mosque beside the mosque of his dad, but he also had another mosque with a beautiful green dome in the citadel, which is the main place of living of the Sultan of Egypt. The citadel that was built by Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi to be the place of governing of Egypt, but it was not finished before Salah's death, and therefore it was the first king, his brother Al-Adil, that he has taken up the citadel as the main palace of governorship of Cairo and Egypt. So he would take us around Gamal al-Ghitani to see the Qalawun Mosque and to see one of the most beautiful mosques of Cairo, and that is a Sultan Hassan Mosque. Although Hassan, who was the son of Nasir Muhammad, and he was put on the throne when he was quite young and then dethroned twice, and in the last time, after being put to the throne again, he started building this magnificent structure, which is one of the greatest ever mosques of Egypt and of the whole world. The mosque, which has a huge dome and huge way of a tunnel-shaped structure that would take you from light and noise to the slight darkness and then to extensive light with no noise, helping you to have the proper meditation, surrounded by the walls of a huge walls which are 4 schools of Islam, making it one of the first universities of the world where there is the students and the professors are living in the same quarters of the 4 sects of fiqh, that is the Hanafi, the Mamluk, the Shafi'i, and Ibn Hanbal, all there, the 4 sects for the students to study continuously, and the beautiful dome of the mosque that always every person who is living in the citadel, whenever he opens his eye every day as the governor of Egypt, will see the mosque of Sultan Hassan, and as if the Sultan Hassan is telling him, I was here before you, I was ruling Egypt before you. And as we know that this was built in the peak of the plague in the year 1347, and it was not finished until even the premature death of Sultan Hassan, and his body was never found, and therefore who is buried after that is the son of Sultan Hassan, Sultan Ahmad, his son, not Sultan Hassan himself, unfortunately. But it was said that the huge expenses has pushed Sultan Hassan to say, if the people would say, if I didn't finish this, they would say, how come the Egyptian Sultan is not able to build a mosque? And that's why he continued on building and spending. Where did he get all this money from? Unfortunately, during this heavy period, there was the plague, and the plague has killed a lot of Egyptians without inheritors. And as the families perished, the money of these families went to the house of money or to the government. And instead of building a palace for himself, Sultan Hassan built this huge mosque, as if this is a milestone for and a memorabilia of the great plague of 1347 onwards. Of course, he would take us, Gamal al-Ghitani, to other mosques, like the mosque of Muayyad Sheikh, the very controversial character who ruled Egypt from 1410 till 1422, his death. And he was a great sultan, a pious man who was a prince, and he was thrown into the jail which was at the gate of Zuwayla. And he said, when he was thrown in the darkness of the jail, if I ever get out of this jail, I will destroy it and build a beautiful mosque instead. And this, as if God has accepted this, and he was suddenly released from the jail, returned as an emir, and then became the sultan himself. And he decided to fulfill his dream, and he built this beautiful mosque, which is having a typical Burgi style mosque. It's a dome that is small but high, and having two minarets, and these minarets were built on the gate of Zuwayla, looking as a beautiful octagonal based structure of beautiful minarets on top of the gate Zuwayla. And the beautiful dome and the beautiful place and the beautiful courtyard. And even he took one of the gates of Sultan Hassan and put it in front of as the main gate of his mosque. However, this pious man, who we thought that he's pious, was actually very strange enough. He was felt jealous from his son, and his son Ibrahim was the one who he sent to fight with the Ottomans and the Turks on the Syrian side, or Sham and the Levant, and he returned victorious. When he came back, he was almost 25 or something. Everybody was saying, oh, he looks very handsome, he looks very nice. Perhaps the Sultan would abdicate from his throne and give his throne to his son, the great, lovely gentleman Ibrahim. And of course, somebody went to the Sultan and said to him, the people are saying that your son is better than you. So strange enough. The son, something which never happened before, the Sultan felt jealous, and he has given, as they say, poison to his son, and his son died. And he felt so very much regretting and regretful that within a month or two after the death of his son, he became very ill. He died, and he was buried next to his son under this beautiful dome. So the streets of Cairo will take us to different mosques, and going through these streets with somebody like Gamal Ghitani will make us feel so much, feeling the happiness and at the same time the nostalgia that Gamal Ghitani felt with. Of course, as we go through the streets of Cairo, we cannot forget when he took us to the Northern Cemetery and to examine for ourselves the most beautiful mosque of Al-Qaitbay. Qaitbay is a sultan who went to the throne in a very old age, in the 50s, and this is considered to be old age, in the year 1468. And he stayed until the year 1496 at his death. He built a magnificent structure, the mosque, this mausoleum, the school, and the Sabil in the Northern Cemetery, which was so articulate and so full of details and beauty, and the inscriptions inside and the inscriptions on the dome with the fleur-de-lis make it one of the most beautiful mosques of medieval Cairo. A mosque that really has shown the craftsmanship of the Egyptian architect, artist, and painter. A beautiful structure that whoever and whenever we see it, we feel how lovely it is. The beautiful mosque of Qaitbay is one of the memorable mosques that you have to go and see for yourself, with the great art of Qaitbay. Also, after Qaitbay, there was 2 or 3 sultans, but we are talking mainly about the last of the sultans, that is Qunso al-Ghuri, who ruled Egypt from the year 1503 till his death in the Marj Dabiq battle, and he in front of Selim I in 1516. He was a great builder, but with empty safes, because the trade has been changed its path, not through Egypt and the Red Sea, but it went around the route of the Good Hope. So Egypt has lost a lot of its income, and he got a lot of money through taxation on the Egyptians to build his main structure, the Wikala and the mosque, and of course the mausoleum. And the mosque, because the money was considered to be stolen from the pockets of the Egyptians called it Masjid al-Haram, or the masjid that people don't like and consider it to be a mosque that they don't prefer to live in or to stay in and to pray in. So this was the mosques of Cairo through the eyes of Gamal al-Ghitani. But he was interested also to tell us about the gates of the mosques and the gates of houses, and how what's written always in the beginning of any mosque about يا فاتح الأبواب افتح لنا خير باب, meaning God, please open for us the gates of goodness and not the gates of evilness. Well, we can talk a lot about Gamal al-Ghitani and about his beautiful books that he has written, but this book is a great introduction to the art and history of Gamal al-Ghitani. So still listening to the world of books in the world of info, and we're coming again right after the break. Stay tuned to us. So we are back with the world of info and the world of books. My name is Dr. Amr MABROUK. Dua Muhammad is still under control, and we are having our third book of today. And this is quite an interesting book. The book is called How to Deal with Angry People, and the writer is Ryan Martin. And Ryan Martin, we have really talked about two of his books before, talking about anger and his main concern, and as we always called him, the professor of anger, because he studied very vividly anger. He has his own social media, TikTok and Instagram, talking about anger and about what his research work in anger, and this makes him a very distinguished professor of psychology. And so we are dealing now with his book about anger. Here we talk about two types of angry people. He said we meet a lot of angry people. The people who we meet for the first time, for example, somebody who you, through your bad driving, if we may use the expression, or his bad driving, he would come out of his window of the car and start cursing and giving you a very negative dose of anger. And so this is the type of angry people that you are going to meet by chance because of certain circumstances. If you make a car accident, or if you meet somebody who's yelling on you or saying bad things, so this is something that is not frequent. But the second type of angry people are the people that you are forced to live with them. These are the toxic people with whom you live. And this is the people that you are always giving to you negative impulses through their bad mood of anger. They are easily agitated, they are easily irritated, and they cause you trouble because you are one of their focus during their bouts of anger, which could be stimulated from anything. And he is saying a horrible piece of statistics, saying that 1/3 of the people we live with are really angry people. And anger is different, meaning that sometimes these angry people, we can really take them as very easygoing people, but if they are projected or certain stimulus happens to them that put them on the anger mode, then they will start giving us hard time. And so sometimes their anger is justified, or it is a state or a trait. So sometimes these angry people, they don't get angry frequently, and sometimes they are really actually angry. So how is it to classify these angry people? We can say that is it a state or a trait? State of anger is that it's an emotion that passed by you, caused by a certain stimulus, and made you angry. And at that time, if you are already in a bad mood, or you are in a hurry, for example, or whatever, or you have your own fears of not fulfilling a certain task at work, then you become angry and short. This is a state of anger that is precipitated by a certain stimulus while you are prepared to have this negativity. Or sometimes it is a trait. People who are coming from families that are full of angry people, who have these bouts of anger attacks, are usually affected by these parents, or at the same time have this gene of anger in themselves. So this is how it goes. So does this anger will benefit or hurt you? Definitely it will hurt you, and therefore it's not nice to be angry. And a lot of people who are living with angry people are victims. They themselves will be passed to them the negative effect, especially if this person who's angry always is a role model, like a parent, a father or a mother who's always having these angry bouts. Whether these angry bouts are projected to the children himself, the son or the daughter, who will always try to soothe his father or his parent, trying to act as a sort of pacifier of this parent, and at the same time trying to prevent him from getting into a bout of anger that will make him by time very irritable and ready always to be angry. So the fact that this is a character, or that he is an angry character by nature, is one of the facts, like when you say a generous man, a brave man, a coward, or a miser. So this is part of a personality trait, and therefore we can put ourselves in this, and we can see how angry people deal with an angry situation. They will always make things negative. They catastrophize everything. What saying that I will not reach my task, I will not fulfill my dream, I will not reach the appointment even if I'm going to the cinema. So he starts having this bout of uncontrollable anger. There is no emotional reasoning or filtering of this effect of anger. So how can he deal? We, as the receptive people of these angry management, how can we manage our response to the people that we are living with, whether these are the people that we love, or the people that we are working with, or the people that are related to us, like a parent? How can we deal with this anger? So when you are subjected by the person, the angry person, to a bout of anger, you have to have what we call the first or the 10 things that you should do or do together to prevent this anger bout from destroying your life or your mood. The first thing to do is pause and wait. And the pausing and waiting, although it's better to have a revenge, and revenge is sweet. So when somebody is angry towards you, you can give him another attack of anger back. And this attack of anger back will put him on the edge, make him very frustrated, and increase the anger reflex into a big fight that could end up with aggression. So pause, think, and wait, and do not make a reaction. The second thing is that you should keep your cool. Relax your body, breathe and cool down, and always say, I am a strong person. I will have my own mantra. I will not have a reactive bout of anger towards this person. The third thing is that not always anger is coming out with a loud voice or a violent attack or aggression. Sometimes angry people would show their emotions of anger in a different way. For example, a man was saying that whenever his wife is angry, instead of shouting and yelling at him, she just cries. And for this, it made his life very unbearable. He cannot talk to her because once he irritates her or something like that, she would always cry. Or another example is withdrawal, or suppression, or sarcasm, or diffusion. So, what should you do? You should be able to read these signs as signs of anger and deal with these signs in a different way. And therefore, you have to keep your cool and try to meditate with this person who's showing his anger in a different way than being aggressive physically or verbally. And then you have to diagram the incidents, the angry incident, and saying, why is he angry? Does he have the right to be angry? But you will not allow him or her to abuse you. But definitely you have to know, is he justified to be angry? Is he really suffering because you overstimulated him? You are the one who caused his anger. This will help you to cool down, because you have to make a diagram of this anger and this incident to clarify it. So if the anger is justified, cool down, relax, and try to cool him down or cool her down. And even an apology might be needed. But we always said that revenge is easier. But they made a study and said that the people who made a revenge and made the condition more fiery actually found themselves very regretting what happened. And the people who kept their coolness and kept the pose really felt more at ease by the end of this attack of anger from a person that they care for or they work for. Another point is to try to communicate with this person. If this person suddenly, because he's angry, he or she will withdraw from your life. And when he withdraws, he's sad or he's embarrassed or he's showing discomfort or is really fed up from you. So put the ball in his court and try to soothe him and find common grounds with him or with her. But sometimes you need to step away from the rage, and especially if the fight is online, because online comments, you don't have to put, when you see a post that you don't like, you don't have to share with your own opinion, which will bring on you a lot of trouble by angry people who do not accept your opinion. Going into such fights is exactly like the Don Quixote idea of fighting windmills. Who are you fighting with? These people you do not know. But once they give you an opinion and the opinion you don't like, you start having rage online. And rage online, there is no need to respond. Wait, focus, and avoid. The second important point, when somebody is raging against you or angry against you, avoid the character assault. Don't burn the bridges. Don't say, you always are angry. You always give me trouble. You always... Don't assassinate his character, his or her character. Try to avoid this. Avoid the character assault. Because these words or these harsh words will be always the words that will be left to be remembered by the other person. And finally, sometimes you have to disengage. If the relationship is so toxic, you have to create boundaries. And creating boundaries, by the way, is simply by not just nullifying the relation, but getting out of it regularly and gradually, especially if this person or this angry person is abusing you emotionally and, of course, physically. So, safety first to avoid abusive people. And the final point is you can use all these 9 methods to try to get out of the situation with the least possible losses possible. Well, this is a really interesting book to be read, and I believe definitely you can make out of it a lot of things. A beautiful book of How to Deal with Angry People by Ryan Martin, the professor of anger. With this, we come to the end of the world of books in the world of info today. Today we presented 3 interesting books. First book is Addicted to Anxiety, How to Break the Habit by Owen Kane. Second book is The Mamluk, Cairo, a book by Gamal al-Ghitani that goes through a very nostalgic walk in the roots of Cairo. And the third book is How to Deal with Angry People by Ryan Martin. 3 books that deserve to be read. I hope that you have enjoyed this program as much as I did, and I hope to see you the same time, same station next week. Stay tuned always with Radio Cairo. My name is Dr. Amr MABROUK. Dua Muhammad is at the control, and we are the world of info.